Good early afternoon and welcome to Audiotree Live. Today is Wednesday, April 6th, 2016, and we're honored to have with us in the studio, Sleep Makes Waves. You're watching Audiotree Live. We're in the studio with Sleep Makes Waves. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out for us, performing for us today.
Cheers.
Yeah. I would like to know, I'm curious about the Great Northern music video. Whose idea was the whole theme, like the concept of the video? Buddy of yours, or you guys come up with it yourselves?
We were in a hotel room in Belgium.
Okay.
And we really needed to make a video. And we knew a guy, a good friend of ours called Brad back home. And he needed something to work with, so we all sat down and we're like, space is pretty rad.
let's do something about that.
How about a kid who makes a device to go to space? And we gave that to him, just that idea.
Yeah.
And he ran with the whole thing and
Sweet.
Turned it into that beautiful kind of piece of sci-fi Australiana.
It's so cool. It feels like, have you guys seen Super 8? It feels like a moment in Super 8 because, like dissects himself or becomes into all those particles that all swirl around. And then it creates the image, the jack or like the six-sided spike thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that too. That's been in your imagery since the beginning. Something you came up with, something that's meaningful to you or just a symbol?
Yeah, it kind of happened out of a collaboration between us and our wonderful kind of artistic designer guy, James Stewart.
Okay.
I came across James at a university graphic design honours student exhibition.
Oh.
And he was the only one out of all of them at this university in Sydney that had done a branding identity for a band.
Cool.
And it was like a heavy kind of vibe, so I was really immediately into it. And so we all spoke to James at length and went through these long iterative processes of teasing out what visual elements we wanted to kind of bring out to sort of set the scene for the music.
Right.
The original design was this goal to sort of blend what we do in our music, which is the organic and the synthetic. We have a laptop and we have a big element on synths and electronic stuff, but we also like big guitars and big drums.
Right.
And we love the geometry of sound too, because there's no vocals, you know. It's for us, songwriting is kind of like this weirdly emotional kind of mathematics.
Yeah.
And so having that symbol there, I think, is a bit of a touchstone for that whole idea.
Sure. Kind of ties together all the themes that you've been working with or things that you're talking about with your songwriting, with your presence, even with like the way that you guys perform. It's very dynamic performance.
That's right.
As well.
And as that shape sort of grew in the next record, which we wanted to sort of celebrate the sort of live sound of the band and how much we traveled around and toured. That was the whole kind of energy behind Love of Cartography.
Yeah.
We sort of transplanted that into a kind of map or into a cityscape. And that's what we kind of like about it. It's sort of, you can put it wherever you need it to go.
Sure. Yeah, it's cool. And it's cool because it is bold, but it's soft enough in the colors too, and like it's like graspable, I suppose. That geometric shape.
right
It's
on.
awesome. I think you guys did a great job. So shout out to what's that dude's name? You
That's
referenced?
James Stewart.
Okay, cool.
Stuart.
Okay, something. Well, whatever. James Stewart, last name.
Right on.
Cool. Thanks again, guys, for playing. You can roll into your next one when you're ready. You're watching Sleep Makes Waves on Audiotree Live. you guys hit really, really hard. You hit really, really hard. But all of you who go in on it, it's going to be a cool thing now moving forward when I listen to the record again to imagine you performing it. Obviously adds a completely different element to it for sure. Would you talk to me a little bit about the electronic side of things? Just curious how you think about fusing those and how you go about, just like how they work together, I suppose, or how you think about how they work together.
So when we started the band, we all were sort of metalheads pretty much. We were getting into things like Boards of Canada and Telephone Tel Aviv at the time. And I started stuffing around on Ableton making beats.
Okay.
And I thought...
Just like free time kind of? Or you were just interested in seeing if you could get into it?
Yeah, I was just fascinated by the sounds.
Yeah.
They were so mysterious and so inviting. I just wanted to figure out how to do it myself. But I'd always played bass and sort of been in bands and everything, so had the idea to try and fuse it together. And wasn't really aware of other groups doing it at the time, but then sort of discovered there's this thing called post-rock and they do it a whole lot.
Yeah.
And we could bring some sort of riffs and energy to the whole thing. So yeah, we just kind of ran with that idea, and it's one of my favorite things to do as part of this group is always just trying to find the new textures and the new sounds and the new influences that come from the electronic side of things.
And so then that's remained your main responsibility, or in the sense that like you are the one who mostly does the electronic side of things?
Yeah, I mean, there's a fair bit of collaboration that's involved in it, but yeah, I'll
he's
go
being
for
modest. It's all him.
It's all him. Okay, cool. Collaboration as in this is really good. That's all the collaboration is. Yeah, really. Give some shouts for sure, man. And what do you think about, I don't know, moving forward, do you ever consider like moving, even harder in that direction?
We like riffs too much, really.
Yeah.
Like it's been a very cool thing the past few years to sort of really push the electronic side of things, and we love that aspect of things as well. But I think it wouldn't be as fun to play live.
Yeah,
it wouldn't
sure.
I think more electronics, but also more riffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Maybe more of both,
That's
but
the
not
plan for the
leaning
next
into
album.
it. Yeah.
More catchy and more brutal at the same time.
Yes. That's going to be the tagline for it when you put it out. More electronics and more riffs. That's great. Sweet. When you're thinking about the texture side of things, do you draw specific inspiration? Like when you're looking into, I don't know, how you want like this sound to be real tinny, or like this one to be pinging, or this one to be like real cosmic. Where do you look for those textures? Like where do you look for inspiration for those textures?
I guess there's a kind of blurriness I really like, especially in pad sounds and things where you can't quite tell sometimes maybe whether it's a guitar or whether it's a pad or a texture.
Okay.
So that point at where the electronic sound and the organic sound really blurs together appeals to me a lot. And I've sort of listened to a lot of weird 80s American ambient stuff and weird German sort of obscure 70s kraut explorations and stuff to try and get in touch with that whole side of thing. That's probably my favorite part of it, is sort of the time-bending, mind-warping kind of pad parts of it. And there aren't so many spaces for that at the moment, but hopefully in the future that's something we're all pretty keen to get into and look at that more.
Right. Well, as the music
create space with guitars to sort of let that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, as the music video implies, you like space, so we'll just keep
all kinds of space.
Yeah, all kinds of space. Okay. Thanks again, guys, for sharing. You can roll into your next one when you're ready. You're watching Audiotree Live. We're in the studio with Sleepmakeswaves. You guys can get prepped up to go into your last one. Cool. I'm curious if growing up you felt this sense of wanderlust in any way, specifically with regards to geography, because being Australian, you're isolated in some ways from the rest of the world, and I'm just curious if you feel like that is an overwhelming sensation of people in Australia that they want to get at, that they want to explore, outside of it.
I think it's been a bit of a journey for us. The first album, And So We Destroyed Everything, I think in many ways was a celebration of Australianness and of the landscapes that we were surrounded in. We went out to a log cabin, basically, in the Australian bush in the dead of summer to record that, and the album cover is reflective of that environment that we were in. A lot of the songs, for me at least, evoke some of the sort of brutality and harshness of that Australian landscape, because especially in the middle of the country, it gets so arid and foreboding that it's difficult
and desolate in
desolate,
some ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like songs like Gaze Blank and Pitiless as the Sun for me definitely evoke something like that. But as we sort of grew as a band and as we traveled more, that urge to travel definitely deepened, and that's kind of what we were celebrating in Love of Cartography, was how much joy we experienced once we realized, at least speaking personally for me, once I realized that this is what I was probably best at doing, is being in this weird sort of limbo in your life and just traveling in a band and putting everything else on hold for a little while, and just performing and sort of sharing your passion and your heart with people all over the world. And so I can't speak for other Australians, but for me at least, that wanderlust was definitely something that was kind of unearthed in the process of this band, and something that we wanted to kind of capture in a lightning in the bottle kind of way in Love of Cartography.
Right, and interesting that you continued to, like as you were traveling more, you continued to find a love for traveling and being far away in some sense, right? Do you agree, man? Or?
Yeah, it's like getting stamps in your passport is pretty great.
Yeah.
That's I think, at least for me and probably for quite a few of us, that's something we never thought we'd really get.
Sure.
Australia's a pretty small place, like you said. It's a long way away. The other thing I think about the traveling is it changed how we write in a way.
In what sense?
So when we went from a band that was a little thing in Australia and we just did studio stuff and little shows, we would write songs that were mainly for records and mainly for recordings.
Got it.
And then when we started to play live and discover what we were about as a live band and what the energy was and what the chemistry was there, that was something unlike what was there before and something we wanted to capture on the record.
Right.
And then also when you're just playing in front of a lot of different people that may not speak your language, may not come from the same culture as you, but you really want to connect with them, you want to write songs that are maybe a different kind of emotion. And I think that's why we went for a sort of really inclusive kind of euphoric feel on the last record.
Almost more universal in that sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was really part of our hearts and minds being expanded, just going and seeing a bunch of places that we never thought we'd set foot on.
Right.
And then I guess the sequel to that is that as we did that, we realized the stuff you have to give up back at home, and and the heartbreak that causes, which is probably going to fall into the next album.
Yeah, that will be the journey,
like a domino
for sure.
effect.
With just to touch on that idea that you're playing, you guys played in China or thereabouts, right? Like Asia last year at some time. And it is really unique, I think, and special that you don't have lyrics, because you can perform for people that don't speak your language, and that language divide allows you almost some more accessibility in some sense. Yeah. I'm just curious if you agree or have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that's true. And the other thing I think that's really special about it is people don't know how much they love instrumental music until they hear it.
Yes.
And a lot of people will come up to us and say, wow, some variation, like I never thought I would be into a thing like you guys, but I've never heard anything like that. Are there other bands like you? Well, yes, there are. Here's a whole list. And I love that when we write a song, because there are no lyrics, the journey that someone goes through in their head, I'm never going to know about it.
Sure.
Their relationship to it is 100% personal, 100% their own. They have complete ownership over that experience. And I love that about the music that I listen to and the instrumental stuff I love. So being able to sort of share that material with other people to interpret in their own way, I think is just awesome.
Right on, man. Beautifully said. Love of Cartography is out now. These guys are on tour. You can check them out in the US with the Contortionists, Monuments, all the way through May 1st, and then they're back in Australia. So check them out there and take it away when you're ready.
Thanks, Blake. You guys ready?
This is Audiotree Live. We've been in the studio with Sleep Makes Waves. Get their newest record, Love of Cartography, out now. Check them out on tour in the U.S. all the way through May and then back home starting in July. Thank you guys so much for performing for us.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to awesome people in the studio and sound engineers for making it sound awesome. Camera and lighting crew for making it look great. And viewers, thanks for watching. You can support the band by downloading or streaming the session when it comes out in a couple of weeks and send a shout via social media to us or the band if you just want to connect. From all of us here at the Audiotree Studios, thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.